Coming at you from the south side of Chicago, straight out of my mother's basement at my childhood home, I'd like to welcome you all to the Power to Persist. Michael, first, let me thank you for joining me today. I recently had the opportunity to spend nearly 3 hours touring the Obama Presidential Center. And
Wasn't enough time.
Oh, no. And it was not enough time.
Yeah.
And I can honestly say it left a lasting impression on me, not only because of the scale of the project, but the beauty of the campus, but because of what it represents. As someone who grew up on the south side of Chicago, I can immediately feel the deeper purpose behind this center. This is not just about honoring a presidency. It is about investing in people, in possibility, and in the future of communities that have, frankly, historically been overlooked. For those who may not know you,
Okay.
Michael Strautmanis serves as the Obama Foundation's Chief Corporate Affairs Officer, helping lead the strategy behind extending President and Mrs. Obama's legacy through civic engagement, partnerships, and the development of the Obama Presidential Center. Michael's journey with President and Mrs. Obama spans decades, from Chicago to the White House and now to one of the most important civic projects happening anywhere in the world today. What makes the center especially powerful is, ladies and gentlemen, its location on the south side of Chicago. Frankly, in my neighborhood, right down the street here in Woodlawn, technically it's housed in Jackson Park, a community rich with culture, history, resilience, and talent. Today's conversation, Mike, is about leadership and legacy. How do we create impact in a way that allows communities not just to survive change, but to grow with it? So, Michael, welcome to the Power to Persist podcast.
Power to Persist. You know, I actually, this is a big deal for me for a couple reasons. One,
I like it.
I'm going to be with you in fellowship and in love, which means I'm going to be very, very transparent. I just think that you have so much to offer. And you know, you've operated behind the scenes for a really long time.
We're going to talk about that. That's one of the things we're going to talk about.
Very well. And the fact that you have written this book, that you have turned this into a podcast and a storytelling platform to do what you do, which is to inspire other people. I just want to be a part of it. And so I'm really excited to be here.
Well, frankly, you know, you are and have been a part of it.
Yeah.
You know what people don't realize, I met you in 2002. That's 24.
Oh, we're telling all the stories.
That's 24 years ago. No, we're not telling all the stories. 24 years ago, when I was in D.C., first started my firm, and I was running around D.C. trying to figure out, meet people, how do I start this firm from the ground up? You were one of the first people that gave me time, and you've not been able to shake me since.
That's true.
And so we have been friends. We've grown up in many ways together. I've watched your children grow up.
Yeah.
Damona, your lovely wife, is a dear friend and fellow golfer, which I love, and hell of a dancer. By the way, you guys look really good on the dance floor together. And so I go back with you, but it also makes me think about President Obama, who I first met as community leader Obama, but more specifically, I was a high school student at Whitney Young, and he came here to Chicago doing voter registration education through this thing called Project Vote. And at one point, he was trying to get high school students who would be eligible registered to vote. And they said, hey, it's this crazy kid over Whitney Young who's got all these high school students, you know, organized. You need to meet with him and work with him. And literally, that's how my relationship started. That was, you know, we're talking 1992.
Right.
No, that's not. No, I'm sorry. That's 1989.
Okay.
90.
Okay.
Right? Before I graduated with Young in 1991.
Yeah.
So that's, you know, how my relationship started with President Obama. I didn't know then Mrs. Obama, Michelle Obama, at that time, but came to meet her and get to know her. But I'm really curious now how your relationship with the Obama started. And I think it started with Mrs. Obama. How did this go from Chicago to D.C. and now back to Chicago? How did it start?
It started around the same time, and it's a very it's interesting. So the first thing you asked me to talk about, it's to me my sort of touchstone, persistent story. So I was in college.
Okay.
And I decided I was going to go to law school.
Okay.
and I was a very middling student. I would, when things went well and I tried and worked hard, I'd get A's, I'd do very well. When I chose to not work hard or I had other things going on, I would struggle. And so there was always this question in my life about potential. People use that word about me as a lot of potential. And right around this time, I was dating Demona. We had been dating all through college. I started to get the feeling and the idea that I actually really needed to see if I could fulfill my potential. So I was working in Chicago as a bike messenger. This was the summer of 1990.
Wow.
And I had decided I was going to law school, and I got myself assigned to a job at
Mm-hmm.
a law firm.
Wow.
So I was a messenger at a law firm.
Wow.
I found out that, just to let you know just what my mindset was at the time, that first year law student summer clerks got paid the same weekly wage as a first year lawyer, which was $68,000 a year.
Whoa. That's a lot of money in 1990,
Bruh.
especially for a
I
kid.
literally
Yeah.
would have thought in my mind that if I was making $68,000 a year, bro, you know where we came from, man. The mindset we had, like it's a wrap. Like I'm good.
Right.
Like I don't even
Without a
really
doubt.
could not know even how to spend
Without a
$68,000 a
doubt.
year,
Without
right?
a doubt. Without a doubt.
I put 68,000 on a index card and I
Yeah.
pinned it to my dorm room phone board.
Wow.
I found out that summer I had a business card of a woman who ran human resources at Sidley in Austin. And I called her when I got back to school, put that thing on my thing, asked her for a job the next summer. She didn't call me back. I was like, well, maybe, she didn't get the message. Maybe
Yeah.
something was wrong. So the next month I called her.
Yeah.
She didn't call me back. I called her every month for 13 months.
Oh.
The 13th month, I was working, selling clothes on Michigan Avenue, just in the summer job. And she called me
Yeah.
and she gave me a job for 2 months. And one of the first people that I met at that job was Michelle Robinson.
Wow.
And it really is this moment. And that obviously, I didn't go there to meet her.
Yeah, of course.
I went there because I wanted an experience and a perspective that would allow me to pursue my dream and to succeed in what I wanted to get done. But yeah, that's how our relationship began. And
And then how'd you come to meet Barack Obama?
in a very similar way, I kind of decided that she was going to be a mentor,
Okay.
and just sort of stayed at it. Right,
Wedged your way
ask
into the
questions.
deal. Right.
Listen to answers. When she said do something, I did it.
Yeah.
And she asked me to come to like a family cookout, like a South Side cookout, where she had some of her friends and some people from the firm, and she asked me to join, and that's where I met them.
Wow. And they weren't married.
They were engaged.
They were engaged.
They were
Okay.
engaged.
Okay.
They were engaged, and so it was really the first relationship was with her, and
Yes.
I would, as I had decisions to make in my career,
Yeah.
as things were going on with school, I
Yeah.
would check in with her on occasion.
Yeah.
But Damona and we got married the same year that they got married.
Ah,
And
I didn't
so,
know that.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, 1992.
Okay.
And so it really became this couple relationship
Okay.
that we had. It was a kind of a couple mentorship
Interesting.
in a way because we were younger and,
Interesting.
we looked up to them.
Interesting.
And so it was in that context that I got to know him.
Yeah.
And it was in that context I started to recognize and realize that, politics, civil rights in
Yeah.
particular, because he was a civil rights lawyer at the time, which
Yeah.
is what drove me to go to law school.
Okay.
He was a civil rights lawyer doing the stuff that I wanted to do. And I really started to spend more time talking to him. Also, when you do a couples thing, you end up talking to the dude
Of course.
anyway.
Of course. Of course.
So that's how our relationship developed.
So, in light of all of that, you have witnessed leadership in incredibly high pressure environments.
Yes.
How has your personal definition of leadership evolved over all these years and with all these experiences?
I guess I would say that we live in a very hierarchical society is what I think that, in that society, leadership is defined by status and positionality. And so as I was looking to achieve, I thought that the achievement meant ascending to a particular position.
Hmm.
And I had a very painful experience early on around this. I basically allowed myself to be talked into becoming the president of our Black Law Students Association at the University of Illinois. I was a good student, I taught good,
Yep.
and it was the thing to do,
Okay.
right? And
Okay.
that was the path that I wanted to be on
Okay.
as the top dog
Yep.
at the school,
Yep.
right? And but here's what I found out. One, I'd just gotten married.
Mm.
Two, I was really focused on school.
Mm-hmm.
And three, I frankly didn't care about most of the things that the people I was supposed to be leading cared about.
Interesting.
And what made me a very poor leader.
Got it.
And so it's a lesson that I look back on and reflect on, but I
Is that
didn't
a
learn
year,
it.
10-year, 2
Yeah,
year?
it's a year, tenure.
Okay.
I
Okay.
didn't make it a year.
Okay. Whoa.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I resigned.
Okay.
I was in the middle of. I was okay. So I'm gonna give you the long version of the story. Timona loves the story. We're a young couple, and we had to have some conversations about some things, and I will just say, is this my camera? I was in the wrong.
Okay. Oh, wow. We got it on record. Breaking news. Damona, you owe me
Timona
one.
was right. I was wrong, and I was receiving her perspective.
Yeah.
I don't even remember what we were discussing.
Yeah.
But I realized in the middle of it that I was supposed to be at a Black Law Students Association meeting that was called to criticize my leadership.
Oh, my Lord.
And I had to tell her that I needed to leave the house for the discussion that we had to go to this meeting.
Oh, Lord.
And that was not a good moment.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And on my way over there, I realized, I said, you know what? This position is not more important than my marriage.
That's right. That's right.
And so I decided that I was going to resign. But I can't just resign. I got to have a little drama around it. So, I walk into the meeting.
Yeah.
Eyes are rolling.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
There he is.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's a list being created of all of the people who want to speak.
Oh, wow.
And I said, put my name down.
It's like a community meeting.
Oh, baby,
Okay.
it's like
You got the
community
sign
meeting.
in the
Yeah,
row.
yeah,
The microphone is in the middle of the row. Okay. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So these people took themselves a little too seriously. It was
got
part
you.
of my issue. So as I put myself last.
Yeah.
And at the end of the meeting, I said, because I felt it, but I hadn't decided. But as I sat there and listened, and I said, I'm not the leader for this. I'm not the leader for you. I can't make the commitment to the things that you want me to commit. So I've decided to resign. This is a big dramatic moment. And I walked out, man. I felt so light and free
Oh, you just
from
you
all
just,
of
you
that.
just, it was a drop the mic type.
Oh, it was
moment.
over. That meeting was over.
Oh, okay.
I left.
Okay.
I was like, I hereby resign.
Okay.
And left and
I
walked
can't wait
out.
to get Damona's version of the story. I love it. I love it.
But I think what I would say is that what I've learned then over the years, because I've seen people struggle in leadership,
Yeah.
because the most important thing to them is the position. And I think there are a lot of ways to hold on to a position.
Yeah.
And I've seen people thrive in leadership, and I've seen people lead in families,
Yeah.
in communities,
Yeah.
in organizations that aren't at the top.
Okay.
They end up being the most influential people that are there.
That's right.
They end up changing the tone. They end up being incredibly effective. And so my lesson is that leadership is really about the opportunity we have to take people who want to be a part of something,
Yeah.
give what they have,
Yeah.
and pull them into a system where they can be a part of something bigger than themselves.
Yeah. So it reminds me, Dr. King had this quote, that everybody can lead because everybody can serve. You don't have to know the theory of this or have a PhD to serve. Just a heart full of love, right? And that's really what it's all about. So, along those lines, what have President and Mrs. Obama taught you directly or indirectly about resilience?
What I've learned from Mrs. Obama is to be real clear about what's important to you. You know, she's like, I only have so many hours in a day. And particularly when she was, felt the responsibility of being the parent who was there for their girls in an incredibly difficult, head spinning place that could have very easily taken them maybe off course as far as the values that the Obamas wanted to. Now, this is me. We actually never had this conversation. This is me looking at them from afar. So she's like, okay, I'm spending, and Damona kind of had the same mindset.
Stabilizing force.
Yes, I'm spending my time here
Yep.
on the most important job that I have, which is to raise these babies.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to do this other thing, but I only got so much time to be spent on it. So I got to
Yeah.
be real clear about
Yeah.
what's important to me so I can make choices and be intentional about what I'm doing. So that's the
Yeah.
thing I learned from her is to be very clear about what's important to me so I can be intentional about my choices.
Yeah.
What I've learned from him, and we've actually had this conversation, and I've seen him talk about this with, in particular, other boys and young men of color
Yeah.
through the My Brother's Keeper Alliance,
Yeah.
is he wants to master and understand himself, both his strengths and his weaknesses. And so
Mm.
what he will do is, and he still does it, be in an interaction, go through the day and ask himself, how'd I do? And if I somehow came up short, let's say I lost my temper at a time where I didn't want to lose my temper, or I wanted to say a thing, but I ended up saying another thing. I should have said that thing, right? Something that is very human that we all do.
Yeah.
He then goes through this reflection and says, okay, what was going on?
Yeah.
Why did I do that?
Yeah.
Was I fearful about something? Was I angry about something? Did I not know what I felt like I needed to know? Was I trying to prove something instead of accomplish something? Or if it was successful, okay, what was that was successful? And what that has done, and I do that now, is I now can be much more intentional than in the past about putting myself in a position to succeed. Um, so if I know, here's something I know about myself. I like people to like me.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know this about me.
Yep.
I want to be liked,
Yep.
and I'm very good at telling you what I think you want to hear to like me. Now, that can be a really good thing
Mm-hmm.
in a situation where we're aligned.
Mm-hmm.
But that can also put me in a position where I'm just kind of talking
Mm-hmm.
and not being authentic.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I now do before many interactions, and I try to do this first thing in the morning, but even if I'm doing something that's a very tense interaction, is I will try to center myself and ask myself, one, what is my purpose in this moment?
Yeah.
Right? And if I ask myself that question and I get an answer, then it's not really about whether you like me.
Right.
It's about whether I fulfilled the purpose.
Right.
And that centers me in a way that helps. And I would not know that about myself, I think, if I didn't go through the kind of introspection and reflection that I've seen President Obama do. And when you see one of the most powerful dudes
Sure. Sure. Sure.
go through that self-reflection, introspection, that stays with you.
So the level of intentional focus and that habit of focus is one of the things I talk about, in the book around what it means to be on a journey of resilience. You took that away from Mrs. Obama, and the remarkable self-reflection that leads to vulnerability is also one of the aspects that one of the habits I talk about in the book, right? That leads to this journey of resilience. So I appreciate you being vulnerable in this moment and sharing that. So, back to this whole, my journey, and you even commented on it earlier about being behind the scenes, and this is a total departure from how you first met me, because normally I'm maneuvering and stuff, and so to be out here with a book and a podcast is like totally
It
antithetical,
is.
right? But many people see leadership, and you sort of alluded to this a few minutes ago, as influence or visibility. Much of your work has happened too behind the scenes. What have you learned about the quiet side of leadership?
I have great skepticism for people who I think spend most of their time trying to let people know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Now look, if that's your if you're an entertainer, or if you're, I mean, even an entertainer has a private life,
Absolutely.
and their public life is pursuing their gifts and giving their gifts to others. And most entertainers that I know, and I think there are stories that reflect this. I mean, my son's a musician. He's cooking.
Yeah.
It takes a lot out of them, and
Yeah.
they need to go back somewhere and kind of almost heal from that level of exposure and
Pouring into other
pouring
people.
into other people,
Yeah.
right? So I would just say it's one of my biases. When I see people who wanna spend all their time letting people know what they are doing,
Yeah.
and that's where this, and I'm gonna sound like an old dude, where this, selfie, you know,
Mm.
video everything culture, I don't know how you video an experience and be in the experience at the same time,
Mm.
right? And so I think what I would say, that's number one,
Yeah.
which is, there are times to be out front,
Yep.
because, and there are times to talk about what you're doing.
Yep.
But I think those times are when your goal is not to make yourself feel important,
Mm-hmm.
but to be an influence and be a help and be a gift to others. That's number one. The second thing I'd say is that, man, if they know where you're going and they know where you're coming and they know what you're going to say, if you're in a situation in which there's some opposition to what you're doing, you're setting yourself up for increased opposition and failure. And so being behind the scenes, I think always gave me the optionality, the opportunity sometimes to, show up unexpected and in
Right. Right. Right.
unexpected
Right.
ways. The last thing I'd say is that there's nothing that endears me to someone, and I think endears people to me, than letting them get a win.
Mm.
And I think about this in our community a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Our people lose a lot. I think about, I had one grandfather who was a custodian at a school.
Yeah.
I had another grandfather who worked as a head waiter at the Palmer House. Mistreated every second of every day, from the second they walked out of their homes
Yeah.
until the time that they got back. Mothers, grandmothers, women who carried the whole family.
Right.
Why do I have to be the one out front to take the win?
Right.
Right? Why can't I put you in a position to succeed and take that win?
Right.
And then what do we have?
Right.
We got two winners and not
Right.
one.
Right. Right. Right.
Right? And that person can go out and have more people win. And now you have multiple winners and not just one. And if we're going to achieve what we need to achieve, man, we got to have a lot of winners out here.
What keeps you grounded when you're operating around so much power, influence, and global attention all these years?
Seriously, good friends. I mean, look, Lamell, you've treated me the same way from the moment we have met.
Yes, sir.
You treated me with tremendous respect, transparency, and honesty. It's been the same way the whole time. And I think that, it can be scary
Hmm.
to be in a situation where you have that much responsibility. I think about, when we first got in the White House.
Yeah.
Economy was
Yeah.
falling down about our ears.
Yeah.
We were in multiple wars.
Yep.
The expectations were incredibly high. Our community was suffering. You know what was happening in this neighborhood,
Absolutely.
right? Foreclosures,
Absolutely.
job losses, etc. And so power in that point, power in that stage, let me start again. Power in that situation
Mm-hmm.
reveals itself as responsibility.
Mm.
Now, there are other experiences where, I'm with celebrities.
Right.
I've gonna brag a little bit. I've been on Air Force One.
Yes, you have.
I've been on Marine One. Those are very cool situations.
Yes.
I think a couple things have kept me grounded throughout it all. I really am so glad that I invested in my marriage.
Mm.
And I am so grateful that my wife has chosen to invest in me. I mean, I met her when I was 18, and I
Yeah.
was a fool when I was
She's
18.
seen it all.
She's seen it all, bro. And so, that's one thing. Two, my children. Now, look,
Mm.
I have 3 children.
Mhm.
I love them all, and we have great relationships.
Mhm.
During my White House years, one of my jobs at our home was to get my middle child up, who's autistic,
Mhm.
who was incontinent,
Mhm.
and my job was to wash him
Mhm.
in the morning.
Mhm.
Baby, that will keep you grounded.
Yes, sir.
You know,
And humble.
that will keep you humble,
Yeah.
and grounded. And then, the last thing is my faith, because
Yeah.
I'm not God.
Yeah.
There is a God and I'm not him.
Yeah.
And I am falling short every day,
Yeah.
and every morning I'm accepted back in as a child and as somebody who has the opportunity to participate, in this kingdom work. And so, that is another opportunity to keep me grounded, because then it's just really not about me.
You know, life has a funny way of testing us right when we think we have it all figured out. Those moments remind us that resilience is not about never failing. That's what the power to persist is all about. 8 simple habits to help you stay grounded, strong, and focused when life gets a little heavy. I'd be honored if you came along on this journey with me. Visit lamellmcmorris.com to get your copy of The Power to Persist and listen to the Power to Persist podcasts so we can continue to persist together. Was there a moment during your time in the White House or even afterward that fundamentally changed how you view service or impact?
So we were in the middle of reelection.
Okay.
It was not looking good for a while.
Okay.
And I think what I saw at the time with President Obama and the team, and this was really driven by him, make a series of decisions in which he said out loud that if we do this, we may lose.
Hmm.
I saw him have conversations with people who voted for the healthcare reform bill,
Hmm.
who told him, if I vote for this, I'm going to lose my seat. And so this idea of doing something that might cost you your position, that might cost you your political position, was sort of constantly in the air.
Right.
And we started creating this almost this formula in which we would decide, one, what was the right thing to do, and then two, what were the politics. And that really changed me, because I used to think opposite.
Hmm.
Before I got into that room, I would think about the politics of everything first, and frankly was really proud of my ability to navigate the politics of a particular situation.
Your analysis.
Yes, my political analysis, my relationships,
Right.
how, the
Right.
numbers, all of that.
Right.
And then, the idea of what was the right thing to do was almost is kind of assumed
Hmm.
that we were doing the right thing. But to end up in a setting in which, man, nothing came across our desk in the White House that was an easy call. Like, if someone else could have made the decision, they would have. The only thing that came our way were 50-50, or where there was some real cost to doing it, and would we do this or would we do that, because the cost was pretty high, and sometimes literally financial costs, other times cost and capital that you're going to have to spend. And so, yeah, that has just stayed with me throughout the rest of my
Hmm.
career, right? Which is, let's decide the right thing, and then we'll figure out the politics around it after, because there's always politics around things,
No
right?
doubt about it.
There's always relationships. There's always downside. There's always the next thing you want to accomplish. There's always ego. So that formula makes sense.
I remember one of the first things I said to you when you went into the White House.
Oh man, yeah. To stay with me.
Every decision you make, you're creating winners and losers. Every invitation you send or don't send, yeah.
That That I think I told you this. That stayed with me.
Yeah.
I remembered that the whole time
Don't
because
ask me how the heck I knew I came to
nah, that was beautiful, bro. That was beautiful. It's Holy Spirit, baby. Holy Spirit. I think, you know, I tell you how that changed me.
Yeah.
I used to think of it took me a minute to recognize, as we talked about this, the power and influence that I had. I used to like thinking of myself as, well, I'm just Mike. I'm just Strat. I'm just here to be helpful. Two things were said to me around the same time that shook me out of that. First was that thing. Then another brother who worked in the transition told me, he said, Strat, people know what you do. It's time for them to know what you think. And it made me realize that I was essentially selling myself and selling the position that I was in short because I was not accepting the fact that I had influence and I had a point of view. And if I did not exert my point of view, then what was I doing there?
It's like
Right?
your Lion King moment. Like,
Yeah, man. No, I'm
you
serious.
had to stand
Yeah,
up and
yeah,
realize, yeah.
yeah. And it's sort of like in hoops, in
Yeah.
basketball, you know, plays are run for somebody to take a shot.
Yeah.
And when they don't take that shot, the play breaks down.
That's right.
Right. And so part of the role in a system is, man, if you got a job to do and it's time for you to do that job and take that shot and make that decision, you can't be like, well, I'm just here. It's not on me.
Yeah.
Right. All right, man, get out the chair.
That's right.
There's
That's right.
somebody else who's going to be there.
I love it.
Yeah.
The Obama Presidential Center opens officially on Juneteenth, 2026. What does that moment symbolize for you personally?
Wow. I all right. I've actually I have not sat with this question yet because of the weight of it. But I'll do it. I'm gonna do it here and I'm gonna try not to cry.
All right.
I was born on 79th and King Drive, 77th and Eberhard. My mother was a school teacher. My dad, who adopted me after they got married, he was a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
When you're raised by school teachers, you, they got to have something to do with you during the day when they're working and during the summers.
That's right.
I was at the library. I was at the museums. I was at these cultural institutions in our city. So I'm creating a cultural institution on the south side of Chicago. As we talked about, I've known the Obamas for, 3 decades?
That's right.
I've seen their sacrifice. I've seen their achievements. I've seen them succeed. I've seen them fail. And I think that there is this opportunity we have to establish their legacy within a place. The last thing I'd say about it is it's beautiful, man. And I think that there is something about beautiful things and how people experience them. My wife was quoting this black woman who was the president of the Architecture Society.
Mm.
And she said, quote was, "See beautiful, feel beautiful."
Mm.
And then the art and the finishes and the grounds and the landscapes. I mean, this thing is very, very
It's beautiful.
expensive.
It's beautiful.
Very expensive, right?
And it's beautiful.
But it's beautiful.
Yeah.
And what I want, and now I know I'm not going to cry because I got through it. What is going to happen is that there are children who are going to grow up believing that the Obama Presidential Center is just a normal thing.
Hmm.
That it's supposed to be here.
That's right.
It's supposed to be a part of their lives. That's where they're supposed to go play. That's where they're supposed to go hoop. That's where they're supposed to go on their field trips. That's where their family's supposed to go have a bite to eat.
That's right.
There's a cafe, if you want to hang out and get something quick, if you want to have a nice meal with your family, there's a restaurant. That's where they're supposed to go read books in the library. That's where they're supposed to. Yeah,
Normalizing.
normalize it. Yeah. I saw two little boys today. This happened just earlier today.
Wow.
We have stickers that we give young people that say future president.
I love it.
So these two little boys came, they were out. I was talking to their parents and I leaned down close to them and I said, I said, what did you think about when you were sitting in the Oval Office? Because we have a replica of the Oval Office.
Beautiful.
One of them said, well, one of us is going to be president, but the other one who's not going to be president is going to be my vice president.
I love it.
Come on, man.
I love it.
The Kennedys thought that way.
That's right.
The Adams thought
That's right.
that way.
That's right.
The Bushes thought that way.
That's right.
The Obamas didn't think that way
That's right.
growing up.
Yeah.
This wasn't like Barack Obama at 4 years old talking about, me and my brother, we're going to be president, all of that, right? This is a profoundly shifting thing about our mindset, about who we can be. And there is, I think, nothing more powerful. Literally, there's nothing more powerful in this world than a change mindset.
It's fascinating. I love that story because we're in the basement of my childhood home. Like while we're talking, we can literally hear my mom and everybody
Yeah, that's
upstairs,
true.
right, walking around. But ironically, even here, we had books like this. But the apartment is, really small. But I would take a book and I had these, plastic men and cowboy men, army men, and instead of pretending like they were killing each other, I would pretend like one was the president of
Is
the
that
United
right?
States. And the rest of the books, they were Secret Service men. And I was driving around and everybody would have to step around on the carpet and walk around but I was creating. And so I draw a line from that story. I didn't know, how my role in DC was necessarily going to manifest, but I did visualize as a kid, right? The age of those young brothers that you just mentioned, that I was, so imagine now they're leaping, I was using books. They're actually in a presidential center and can go home and taste it, feel it, see it, right? I love that.
Yeah, I'm excited, man. So that's what it means to me.
When people hear presidential center,
Yeah.
they may think archives or history, but the project feels fundamentally different. How do you describe its purpose?
We're really a hope machine.
Mm,
I'm a Star Wars geek. So, but I told the team because one of the roles that I get to play now is I'm sort of the chief storyteller. You know this. I had the great privilege of going to work at the Walt Disney Company
yes.
for a while
I remember
with
that.
Bob Iger,
I remember that.
and I took on this role, this newest role that I'm doing right now at the foundation. I called him and we talked, and
Hmm.
he said, what you really are is a brand steward.
Hmm.
And he told me what that meant. That is the job of the person who's there to say, you know, our brand doesn't say those words,
Mhm.
or we are here about this theme, hope,
Mm.
right? For Disney, it's all about joy
Mhm.
and family and
Mhm.
entertainment, right? And his job, the way he defined it is, I don't build a roller coaster, I don't make a movie. My job is to make sure that the brand stands for what it is that we stand for. And so what I tell people, because I'm a Star Wars geek, is that we're Obi-Wan Kenobi. We're here to create new Jedi, right? We're here to Barack Obama went through the path. There were others who were there before him on whose shoulders he stands. He knows the pathway to how to do things. We know everybody has that something inside them that can change things, change the world, and make things a better place. Our job is to call them, into the adventure, give them some tools and some inspiration along the way, and let them do their thing. So that's how I describe it. We're kind of a hope factory. We're sort of a hope machine.
What makes the decision to build this center on the south side of Chicago so important?
Well, first of all, you know this, man. I told you where I was born. When I grew up on the south side of Chicago, man, this was the spot. I mean, it still is, but we had the restaurants. We'd go down and go shopping. the parks. There were all kinds of things that we could do. Now you had to navigate, but that was the city. You got to always navigate in the city. And I think the thing that has really broken my heart over the last few years is to see all of that lost. You know, storefronts deteriorate, people move out, vacant lots. And I realized through my work, being a lawyer, being in government, being in business, that this comes from intentional decisions, right? This comes from a decision not to invest. This comes from a decision to cut and run. This comes from a decision to, worry and focus on other communities. And so I think what I would say is that, look, this was a risk, right? If you wanted a guaranteed tourist attraction, like the Obamas, they raised all the money for this themselves, right? This is all privately funded from private donations. You want to create a library that is going to be successful in a way that creates less work for yourself, put it in Millennium Park.
Right.
Put it on the campus of the University of Chicago and have them pay for it.
Right.
And put it in their endowment. So I think the first thing it represents is a bet on the South Side of Chicago.
Okay.
Right? That's number one. Number two, it's a decision that they made to take what they had and to create an amenity and give in a gift.
Okay.
To the people in the place that gave them their start.
Okay.
Right? And it means that. And the third thing is it's an invitation for others to invest alongside them.
Okay.
And to be on this journey with us of renewal. And I think look, I didn't live here for a while. I moved in like 98 to DC. Now I have family here. I was here all the time, but I didn't live here. I tell you, when I came back 10 years ago to start this job, man, I was so inspired because there's so many people who are doing so much work. I'm like, don't say or expect us to do everything. First of all, we don't need to do everything.
Yeah.
We got people doing all kinds of stuff here, right?
Yeah.
We just need to do our part.
Yeah.
And I think, I want people to go on this journey with us to see what the South Side does when people bet on it. Because we're not going to lose.
One of the most important conversations around large-scale development projects is the balance between investment and displacement. How has the foundation approached this responsibility?
Well, the first thing is displacement, and we've looked at this and we've done a lot of research.
Yeah.
I think one, we went to and there was some argument about this, but I would say a very underutilized portion of an enormous park, right? So the only thing we displaced in putting it there was a track and field. And the first thing that we did was give the park district money to create a better track and field, right? So
the one that's adjacent.
The one that's right adjacent
there,
to it,
adjacent
right
to it.
there, yeah. So first thing is physical plant.
Yep.
No displacement, right? We're not moving anybody out. We're not shifting. So that's number one. Fundamental principle of it. Number two, job loss, population loss, vacancy. Vacant lots means that physically this community actually has a lot of space for people to grow into. This is not a constrained physical environment where if there's growth or something changes, people, somebody new comes in, there's no place for them to go. Somebody else has got to go out.
Yeah.
So that's number two. Number three, we have tremendous responsibility to hire from the community, to create small businesses and scalable larger businesses in the community. This is very important to me. I like small businesses, but I also like businesses at scale that can hire at scale. So it's very important for us to do that with our project. The last thing is we are not the only people who have the responsibility to deal with displacement. Government has a role. Other institutions have a role. And if you believe in democracy and pluralism and you work for a community organizer, you understand that our system has to participate to make sure that people have the opportunity to stay here. And right here in Woodlawn, ordinances were passed that had never been passed before to give people the tools to deal with rising rents and other
Fascinating.
costs and et cetera. And so I think that, you know, I would just say, look, we built all this, the library, the playground. That isn't for anybody else. That's for
Yeah.
the people who live here.
Yeah.
Right. And so our hope is with that, those amenities, this becomes an attractive place to stay, invest in, stick around, and be a part of all that's coming. So that's our mindset at
Yeah,
least.
I'm excited about it because as you see, I'm here doing the
Right.
Power to Persist right here in Woodlawn.
Yes.
You pulled up, you saw houses that, we built through Green Line Realty USA right on the block, and
Yes.
I'm the center across the street is named, has my mom's name on it, right? So I hope, right, that we catalyze this community together and we continue to push forward, right? And
Yeah.
that we will spark the
I
kind of
agree. I
development.
mean, look, I want people who are part of this community, who love this community, or
Yeah.
maybe who left this community.
Yeah.
It's a good time to come on home.
Yeah, it is.
Or at least, invest in what it is that we're doing
Yep.
here. Because I think Chicagoans we love, and particularly South Siders, you know, love the city, love to
Yeah.
talk about the South Side, love to claim it.
Yeah.
It's time to invest. The Obamas have made a big bet. Lamel's made a big bet. Come on with us.
So we don't get a chance to have this conversation. So we're almost at time. What everyone doesn't realize, there's a clock on the other side, and he can't see it, but I can see it. But I know. But I don't get a chance to have him like this. So I'm gonna keep going a little bit. So the foundation talks a lot about inspiring people to change the world. Do you think younger generations are redefining leadership differently than previous generations?
I mean, 100%. And I say, like, keep bringing it. I think that couple things. One, I see younger generations as being much more focused on outcomes. I think in part because everybody's been marketed to. If you're like 20, you've been literally marketed to since you got the phone that was in your
No,
hand.
no
So
doubt
very
about it.
sophisticated consumers.
Yeah.
And so I think it's like, okay, well, I'm gonna do this. What's gonna happen from this? What am
Yeah.
I and I think they get a bad rap sometimes because it's like, well, what am I gonna get out of it?
Yeah.
But I think that's much more of a like, what is this gonna do? I'm not just gonna give you my money and my time.
Yeah.
What's this gonna do? That's number one. I think the other way they're redefining things is there's a lot more collective
Yeah.
action. There's a lot more network. There's a lot more transparency about what everybody
They
else is
communicate
doing.
they
Yeah,
have so many different
we're doing
tools.
this. We're doing.
Yeah,
What
yeah,
are
yeah.
we doing? And I think that's very powerful. I think the if I can be the old guy for in this moment,
Yeah.
I think that what's missing is there are playbooks. One of the
Yeah.
reasons why we tell the same stories as humans
Yeah.
over and over and over again is because there are things that are eternally true.
Yeah.
And yes, things are different and things are new and things need to be changed. And how we got out of slavery,
Mhm.
how we got out of Jim Crow, how we survived Reconstruction, how we survived the Great Depression, how we survived the Great Recession, how we've survived the war on drugs. Those are playbooks that I think can be used by this generation, updated for the moment that we're in. But I don't want to see the playbooks thrown out because then you're just learning the same lessons again.
What concerns you the most right now about our country?
I I think that there is a lack of organizing in order to achieve change or to protect the gains that have been made. You think about voting rights. Okay. So people are upset about what's happened with the Voting Rights Act. Here's the thing that concerns me. There are a lot of people who could have been in Rosa Parks' position to be the person who was arrested for violating that ordinance in Montgomery. But the movement chose Rosa Parks. because of her background, because of her look. She's a, this is my understanding. This is what history tells me, right? Because of how she would look in the picture, because of how Montgomery was particularly prepared for that moment, right? And so I see a lot of activism, but I think what I don't see enough of is the strategic decisions about who moves first and how do we support that person who moves. It's basically coordinating, because otherwise you have,
Yeah.
sugar pills,
Yeah.
right? This happens, that happens, this
Yeah.
happens, that happens, but then it's gone. Do you remember this? Do you remember that? What was it that those young brothers did here? What was it that people moved on that? How did we oppose that particular thing, right? It
Yeah.
comes, it pops, and it's gone. And I think a level of coordination, strategy, et cetera. Now, look, probably easier when, people unfortunately or fortunately are segregated in a particular community, when a lot of people are, like, have other things to deal with, and there are only certain folks who are able to participate in the movement. But
Yeah.
there are only certain people who are participating in the movement today. Not everybody's an activist. I think there's an opportunity to be strategic in this way. And when I've seen it happen in this era, I've been so impressed with what can be accomplished and at what scale it can be accomplished because of the positionality that we have as a community now. So I think the opportunity here is bright, but I want to see a little more coordination.
I've kept you longer than we agreed to. As we get
That's
ready to
because my answers are
no,
super
no,
long.
no, no, no. As we get ready to close, what does legacy mean to you um now
Yeah.
compared to 20 years ago?
Man, 20 years ago, legacy was all about achievement.
Yeah.
You know, um, I got this position, but I got to get that position. Oh, and look, we got to the Senate. Okay, I want to win the nomination. I want to win the White House. Or I want to win a second term. But when you get to that place, and look, that was a mountain that I had never really even dreamed of climbing. I had read about same kind of. I wasn't playing with Secret Service when I was a kid, but I was reading all these books about the presidency. So
Yeah.
it's really interesting that I ended up in that position because I had a body of knowledge walking into that.
I tell people there's a line in
Yeah,
our lives. It's not always straight, but we can draw a line back to our childhoods
completely.
to where we are today,
Yes,
right?
yes. So I think that legacy 20 years ago was about achievement. I think to me, legacy now is about the people I put in position to find out in a very safe, actionable, supportive environment
Yeah.
what their gifts are.
Mm.
And, some folks, their purpose is to be at the Obama Foundation. I can tell you some of the most painful conversations I have for people who discover that their purpose is to be elsewhere.
Mm.
But I think part of, and this is a small example, I do think that one of the reasons why I'm in the position that I'm in is part of what I'm supposed to do is help that person find a place to succeed. And one of the great fulfilling moments is when someone who has left the foundation reaches out to me and talks to me about how happy they are and all the things that they are doing. And so legacy to me is all these Jedis running around.
This podcast is built around persistence and resilience. When you hear the term the power to persist, what comes to mind?
I'm not going to say no for you.
Mm.
If you're gonna tell me no, fine. But this journey that I'm on,
Yeah.
this journey is one small part of a kingdom journey
Yeah.
that will be achieved long after I'm dead.
Yeah.
And so if that's the end goal there, then whatever's happening in my lifetime is very, very small. So there is no endpoint to what it is that I'm doing. I just have to persist through it until my time here is done. and I've had enough of a opportunity to, pass the baton along so that the next person has their opportunity to be here. And then I can look back and see all that was done to allow me to be in my place. And with all of that behind me, brother, we got to persist.
I greeted you when you pulled up outside,
Yeah.
and I know how much you love music. I know how much you and Damona love to dance. I know that your son is a phenomenal musician. So I gotta ask, when you pulled up,
Yeah.
what's on the playlist in the car?
What was in the playlist in the car was the Black Pumas colors. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So I just like, you know, yeah, all my favorite colors.
I love it.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Listen,
That was it, baby.
listen. This has been a meaningful conversation. Michael Strautmanis, I can't tell you how important you are to me as a brother. And I hope and pray that everyone realizes the blessing that you've been to President and Mrs. Obama and how you stuck with them all these years. And they stuck with you. And for that, we see the evidence of that. Your commitment, your dedication is commendable, and I hope that folks will imitate your path and your journey. As I know, you know, so many people look up to us, and a lot of times we don't realize how many people. And I've looked up to you from the moment I met you. So thank you for taking time out, for coming to the basement. On the South Side and Woodlawn, the Power to Persist podcast. Thank you.
Thank you. This was great.
Thank you, brother.
All right, man.
Make sure to like and subscribe wherever you're listening so you stay in the know about future episodes. See you next time, my friends.
Resonate.